in Delhi right now?
No, sir. I am in Bangalore. For past 4 years, I've been here.
Okay. Cha. But you're basically from Delhi, right? Your folks are in Delhi.
Yes.
Good.
Your wife is there with you?
Ma'am, yes, she is there. So she was also a hotelier.
I know.
With Maitreyee as a general manager. Then she took a break.
Okay. How have things been otherwise with you?
Sir, all good. Yeah, I was just telling ma'am that we have recently deputed the team back to reopen our hotel, one of our hotel, and the other one, which is the Holiday in Goa, we have already started the pre-opening process. So that will go live by first week August. However, our Essentia property, which is in Ghaziabad, that will be 1st of September because business hotel has lesser demand currently. Leisure, we are seeing some demand picking up.
Yeah. So you also need to travel to the other properties you have.
Yes, sir. So though I am based out of Bangalore, so keep traveling between Chennai. So Chennai is one of our other property, which was supposed to come in this year September. Now delayed it till next year April. It's a 70-room property with a rooftop fisherman wharf. Then I travel regularly to Ghaziabad. We are opening there. It's a 151 property. Then we have signed one more in Pune, Hinjewadi. It's a 50-room property. Pure mid-market hotels. Then we are coming up with 108 rooms in Indore, heavy banqueting hotel with almost 27,000 square feet outdoor lawns and almost 20,000 square feet indoor banqueting. And then later we come up in 2022, we are coming up in Udaipur with almost a palace kind of a property. That will be a 5-star hotel under Essentia. This property would be the first phase. We'll open 105 rooms, and then we plan to add another 45.
Where in Udaipur?
Sir, this is near Sajjangarh.
Okay, got it. Udaipur is a lovely place. I know. Such beautiful hotels we have there.
Yeah,
have you been to Udaipur?
Yes, sir, twice. So now, in fact, Udaipur is doing pretty well in terms of ARR and all. And the craze of these destination weddings. So Goa and Udaipur are two hot destinations in the market currently. You see a lot of demand going to. So the main focus is that we are focusing on banqueting and doing weddings, etc. With Essentia. However, the company's core background with Everina was that they ran Holiday in Goa from 91 onwards. It's one of the oldest property of IHG in India. Then we have another business stream, which is Fisherman Wharf restaurant chain, which is very, very popular again in Goa. And then we have opened 2 of our restaurants, one in Bangalore, one in Hyderabad. These are also fairly large restaurants of roughly 1.5 acres of land. And they do pretty well. Pure seafood cuisine, Goan cuisine. And then we started Essentia almost 1.5 years back.
Good. You are 2012 batch, was it 11?
No, sir, 2008 pass out.
Oh, 2008. Okay, yeah. You were 2005-8. You were one of my first batches, yeah.
Yeah, you were the Napier coordinator.
Yeah, 2005 I joined
Napier.
Yeah. So you are with Pritha and all, right?
Caroline, Pritha.
Caroline, Pritha,
yeah. Me and Carol were Leela management.
Leela. They were in Leela, no? They joined Leela from campus centers.
I know.
Yes, ma'am.
I still remember the 2005 batch. We had this first day that we joined, we had the induction in the courtyard, remember?
Yes, sir. Big tent was placed.
Yeah, I know. I remember because that was the first batch that I inducted. I was a part of the team that inducted you all, 2005.
Yeah, and I think the first class was taken by Nupur ma'am.
Okay.
AHM now, right, ma'am?
Introduction to Hospitality, I think. Yeah.
Introduction to Hospitality.
She's in Goa now. She's a part of our faculty team in IHM Goa.
Yes, in fact, I follow her also on Facebook and Sangeeta as well. So Sangeeta and me were together in Taj. So with Sangeeta as well. So she's still in Goa.
Shubhash was also with you, right? Shubhash Jana.
No, ma'am. Shubhash Jana was not with me, but me and Sangeeta were together at Taj Holiday Village. Me, Shadab Khan, and Sangeeta.
Shadab, yeah.
Shadab
Shadab,
was with you, yeah.
Shadab was there.
So we three were there in the same property at the same time.
Chalo. So it's been 12 long years since you passed out, yeah?
Yes.
एक युग बीता जिसको कहते हैं 12 साल का युग बीत गया तुम्हारा बहुत बढ़िया
quite a time, sir.
I know how time flies. लगता भी नहीं है. Still seems just like yesterday somehow.
Correct, sir. Correct. In fact, the other day I was chatting with Ritu ma'am, and I was telling her the same thing, that that it's been it doesn't look like, even the other day we were trying to prepare for our interviews.
I know.
So you managed to contact Ritu after I sent you the number.
Yeah. I am in touch with her now.
Good. Very
good. How long do you have time today, Anuj?
So I'm there with till the time you want me to be here.
Okay. Are you in touch with the other batchmates that were there, or your juniors or seniors?
So we have recently made Ayush has actually made a WhatsApp group for the complete 2008 batch. So we all are there. And in fact, a couple of seniors I'm in touch. So I was in touch with Rachna ma'am.
Okay.
And I am in touch with...
in Delhi.
Yeah. I am also in touch. One of our college seniors, also my colleague, Gaurav, if you would know, he works as our revenue director for our holiday. Gaurav Srivastav.
Yeah.
And I also happen to work alongside Mridul Puri. Again,
Mridul.
I used to be executive housekeeper. He used to be front office manager at Maldives together. So we are still in touch. So
last I knew, Mridul was in Bangalore. That was
no, ma'am. So that was long back. So me and Mridul were with the Singapore Air Terminal Service property in Maldives. I think 2014, 2015. So Mridul was the FOM there. So we worked very closely. So now Mridul is the GM of a property in East Africa, ma'am.
Acha. Okay, great. I didn't know he had moved out, because I think he was somewhere in Bangalore, either St. Mark's or some.
Ma'am, he was with that property which was earlier Crown Plaza. He was there in Bangalore, and then he moved to the Grand in New Delhi as AFOM, and then he joined us in Maldives as FOM.
Okay.
And then I had another junior working in my team, Prashant Dubey, I think, as a housekeeping supervisor. He was with me in Maldives. And I also recently, we took over this Ghaziabad property. So Amit Kale is our executive chef there.
Look at that. Small world, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Should we start off now, ma'am? Should we ask him? Yeah.
They're having classes, I think. They're just being released from the classes.
Yeah, they just finished. I think people are joining in now. Yeah, we have about 50 odd.
So the campus is working, or are we doing online?
Yeah, we are. Kushal is working from campus. Actually, we were supposed to work from campus today. I mean, we were working actually.
Okay.
Today some event happened. So we all, tried to avoid. So those who were already in, so they are still there, and they will be coming out. And next 3 days will be work from home.
We are doing part-time teaching from home, part-time from work. Like we have segregated staff coming in on alternate days and all that. The regulations that require us to not be here full strength. Students are not coming, of course, for 4 months now. So all our teaching, all our activities is online with students. Teachers and staff take turns to come to college and shortened hours and shortened days of the week. The rest of the days we work from home. That's how it is right now.
So we do these recorded classes or we stream them live?
No,
Mostly live.
Like how we are doing with you now.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly live, but some recorded sessions as well. Yeah.
Recorded as in like we do some recorded practical we do.
Okay.
And even the master classes we do recorded, and then we do tutorials where it's very interactive.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, it's quite tough with all this happening.
Yeah, it is a hybrid situation, very fluid, and rules keep changing every day. Bengal will be under complete lockdown tomorrow and on Saturday, then again 2 days next week, which they have not finalized. So it's all very fluid. So it's all playing by the ear now.
Correct. And Karnataka, in fact, today was the last day of lockdown.
Yeah, so, you're opening tomorrow, I think.
Happening, I think,
how
same
strict it is in Bangalore?
Ma'am, initial lockdown was very, very strict. Then what happened was, as soon as the lockdown was, lifted, people thought, it's just like they've gone up and they started roaming around without masks and all. And then the situation became very critical. So we had a very high number of cases that started coming in. In fact, initially when the lockdown started, we had almost, in my 5-kilometer radius, we had 0 cases. Now, in my 2-kilometer radius, there are almost 90 cases.
That's bad.
Bangalore is very bad.
We don't know who is actually carrying it. Actually, it's very difficult to identify.
Correct. And in fact, I stay very close to our IIHM campus.
Acha, Indiranagar.
Yeah, Indiranagar only. So it's very tough now.
Karnataka did a very good job initially. First 2-3 months, everything Karnataka and Kerala, but over the last 1 month, suddenly things have gone up.
Yes.
I think all states by turn also. Yeah, by turn, every state is getting its own highs and lows. I don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah, correct. Now Delhi,
very fluid.
Correct. Now Delhi is little better. With cases declining. So now Bangalore, Karnataka has gone up. Mumbai is still leading.
In Maharashtra is going up, but Mumbai per se is going down. But greater Mumbai, Thane and all, Pune, Ahmednagar, all these places are now coming up.
Yeah, correct. But I think it's beyond anyone's control.
It is, as long
as a peak, then it declines.
The only thing is you need to be careful yourself. That's it.
Correct, sir.
I think, ma'am, maybe you could just do a quick introduction and we'll have Anuj start talking to the students.
Yeah, okay. So good afternoon, students. And again, a warm welcome to all of you to this edition of the industry speaker. And we have none other than Mr. Anuj Chaudhuri, who was a pass out of IAM Institute of Hotel Management in the year 2008 and started his career with the Leela from the campus interview as a management trainee. And after his stint with the Leelas, worked with brands like Taj, Maldives, Sats Maldives, Lemon Tree as a housekeeper. Initially, Anuj had started with housekeeping and then had moved up to the mid-market hotel chains. And then he further grew up to lead as corporate general manager with Spree Hotels, which is a sister concern of the Royal Orchid Hotels. And currently, he is working as a corporate general manager of Essentia Hotels, which is a unit of Averina Hotels, which owns and operates Holiday Inn Resort, South Goa, Fisherman's Wharf restaurant chain, and Essentia Hotels. And it's been an amazing journey because only in 12 years' time, Anuj has graduated from a housekeeping management trainee to the position of a corporate general manager. And let's all hear it from Anuj. Anuj, over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for such a nice introduction. So I think so to all I think these are third year students or second year students, ma'am?
Second year and third year mixed, and some
Achha,
also were passing out now. Yeah, some students from that
Okay.
batch also.
Okay. So like, almost everyone who's here, I was also a part of the campus exactly 12 years back, and was lucky, in fact, to get through as a management trainee. And a lot of credit goes to the college. So ma'am used to regularly do interviews those days. And those days, ma'am, along with Ritu ma'am, were regularly training us as how to face the interviews. And it was nice. And, there used to be a lot of pressure from ma'am that you have to try and get through. So it used to be tough those days. But of course, it was very nice the way we were groomed during the college. And I think that was the time that set us for up. I mean, set us up. So I think overall, it was nice the way college groomed us for it. And overall, I would say the way I have seen with other colleges also, since we had a lot of management trainees from other colleges as well. But I think we were very, very updated with the trends in the market compared to the other colleges, where it was more to do with theory. We had fairly larger practical sessions, and I think the best thing was how we were groomed to give the interviews, which never happened with any other college. As to say, I am not sure now how it is, but during our days it never used to happen with any other college. So I think even getting through a management was a luck as well. But I think at the hindsight, the college groomed us really, really well, and we were very lucky. So I think that's about my college journey. And yeah, so I think because of this pandemic, we are here to discuss this particular thing, that how the industry is faring. So yeah, so there are two sides of it. One is the current situation, which is fairly bad, and there is another side to it, what happens next. So in the current situation, how we are placed is that almost maximum cities are under lockdown, or sometime lockdown happens and then it is unlocking, and then the same thing continues. So because of that, there is a lot of ambiguity as when to relaunch the hotels, and what is to be done again, or how do we go about reopening the properties. So this is a very, very short term trend, I think. But overall, I feel once we have the vaccine, the things would be very, very different. The problem currently is that there is heavy ambiguity over the travel, because people are not sure whether they should take travel or they can avoid it. So everyone's trying to avoid travel, and since the industry is purely dependent on this, so unless and until the restrictions are eased out and the curve starts declining, I don't think much of travel will start. Third thing is that how can you have your guest being confident that they can travel and stay safe with us. So for that, all of the chains are taking a lot of measures, including us. So we are trying to be physically distant. I think I would keep harping on the fact that socially distant is not the right word for the industry, but physical distancing is something that you can practice, as we are a very, very social industry. So we are laying down protocols like regular sanitizing of properties, QR code menus, QR code check-in checkouts, uh, and a lot of other things that we are also trying to do. So first thing is that how do you get your guests to come into the property? So I think this is something that the whole industry would need to look at, and whole industry would probably need to devise a plan for this. So overall, generally what happens in this industry is that we are all fragmented, though it's a small industry, but there are different segments to it. For instance, I work for a chain which is a mid-market segment hotel chain. Same way there are budget segment hotels. Same way there are upscale hotels and luxury hotels. So I think till the time the whole industry doesn't come together and do some planning wherein people feel that they are they're safe to travel, I don't think so the travel will start till that time. So I think we are all waiting for it, that the vaccine should hit the shelf, and once the vaccine is in, then we would see something happening, and we would see a lot of travel restarting. But till that time, we would have to optimize the cost and work towards trying to be as cutting down our costs as possible. So yeah, so that is the current trend where we are sitting.
Anuj, in your hotel in Ghaziabad, which you said is actually focused towards more banqueting and marriages and events. So
Yes, ma'am.
currently, with the social distancing norms and the cut down, I guess these kind of events are no for the time being. But however, when the events are going to be permitted and large gatherings will come back, what kind of safety measures are you planning to take when you reopen these events for the guests?
So, ma'am, in fact, so pre-corona, this hotel used to do really well. So, in fact, the major business that we used to do was pharma and FMCG, which are for us, we are still lucky because these are two sectors which are doing very well. And we feel that once the situation becomes a little better, we'll be again back into the business. So, what we have currently done is that almost 2 weeks back, we have deputed the crack team to pre-open the hotel again. So these are roughly 27-30 members that we have placed back to start the property. So currently, ma'am, what we have done is we are rolling our SOPs, and according to the Ministry of Health guidelines, we are working very, very closely to have all the SOPs rolled. So currently, we are very focused on contactless service. So, for instance, like I just told, that we are working with QR code menus now. So there'll be no menus in the property. Same way for check-in and check-out, we are promoting QR code check-ins and check-outs only, and we are reducing the check-in time lesser than a minute. So it's just everything happens on the mobile phone, and the guest is directly taken over to the room, and he checks in. For checking out also, what we have done is we have placed QR codes in the rooms. He can directly scan the QR code, pay through the online mode. So there is no cash being taken and there is no card being swiped. So everyone can do online payments and check out from the property. So that is something that we have done. Plus, we are sanitizing the property on regular basis. So public areas are being sanitized almost on daily basis as per the diversity guidelines, and rooms once in 14 days as per the current guidelines. However, if by chance we have any positive guest unfortunately, we would seal that particular wing and do the sanitization and reopen the wing again, which will only happen after 48 hours. So currently, as a company, we did not take the quarantine business because we thought we were not very well equipped initially to take quarantine business like other hotel chains, and we wanted to shy away from that particular business as well, because our focus was that we are a predominantly a big hotel, and we would continue to have these businesses which are related to weddings and all in coming days. And the thought of process was also that in back of the mind, people would keep this in their brains that this was a hotel which was given as a quarantine property. So we did not wanted to do this. So in fact, our other property, Holiday in Goa, which is almost a 205 room hotel, that also did not do any quarantine business. So we decided rather to shut these hotels and reopen them once the situation is better. So we feel we have done a lot of market study, and we were closely connected with almost all big admins of the corporates. And since I told you that our major business is pharma, so we think that from October we would see some movement back. So accordingly, all the guidelines and a short crisp video we are working on. So I think in another month's time, our complete SOPs would hit the market, and I think we'll be good to go by 15th September. Also, it gives us some time to do a little bit of renovation in the property which was required. So the focus is currently to renovate at least 30% of inventory and to go live in a very, very planned way, wherein we are not going live with complete 151 rooms. We are also willing to reduce our cost, and we are heavily working towards that. So we plan to go live with 50 rooms initially for first quarter. I mean, for the first quarter that we go live with. Then we will add another 25 rooms inventory, and we'll wait further till the time we see any major business pickup happening. In terms of tweaking our cost, that is something that we have actually worked very, very hard on. So when this property since it is a mid-market hotel, and we used to have ARRs anything between 2,500 to 2,800, and we used to typically work on a 65-67% occupancy. So now we are tweaking all our costs. So we were typically working on a 1:1 manpower ratio. Now we plan to, once we are live with 50 rooms, we would work on 1:0.7. So these are these measures that we are trying to take to keep our cost low, so that if by chance the business doesn't pick up, then we are not heavily into losses. So I think that in the current scenario, it is also important that any group, be it even a luxury hotel, how can it control their costs? Because till the time you have sufficient to float for a longer number of months, you will be able to probably succeed. If you are running short on cash flows, then it will be a big problem.
Right. That was quite well explained, Anuj. My next question to you is, see, when students currently, the thought process of the student is that they don't want to do housekeeping. Okay, so I would like to throw some light on how has it been for you when you started as a housekeeping management trainee, and how has it helped you to in your career growth further?
So, ma'am, during those days also, I remember a lot of students were not willing to take housekeeping. In fact, people thought it's a back of the house department. And a lot of people were always encouraged to take F&B or food production, which looks very, very glamorous as well to these students. In fact, when I joined the campus, I also wanted to be, a chef, but somehow it is during the industrial training only that, the interest develops over a particular thing. I was lucky that I was adjudged as the best industrial trainee in housekeeping while I was doing my training at the Taj Mahal, New Delhi. And from there only the interest developed. So I think, you need to plan it really well. If something interests you, do that, rather than, picking up F&B and then struggling your way out, thinking, that I thought it'll be very glamorous. So don't go by the glamour, because once you join the industry, there is actually very limited glamour, and there's a lot of hard work which has to be put in. So I think initially don't make a choice based on glamour. Think what you can do really well. So I think the reason that I picked up housekeeping was there were two sides to it. One was that, during the industrial training, I preferred working in housekeeping, and I learned a lot during that particular time. And of course, because I was also adjudged as a best industrial trainee in housekeeping department, I thought probably, getting through a HOMD program at Taj would probably be easier. Also, I felt that during those days, ma'am, in particular, the number of skilled managers in the department were very, very limited. And you would hardly see, between all your supervisors and middle level management, you would hardly see two management trainees also in a particular hotel, because people were not taking up housekeeping at all. And I felt that, if I pick this career option up, and if I somehow brush my technicals well, it'll be easier to grow compared to F&B as well as food production, where it takes a lot of time because the hierarchy is very complex. So if you really look at housekeeping hierarchy, if by chance you have got through as a management trainee in housekeeping, you directly end up becoming a senior executive or an assistant manager. And then the next step is actually assistant housekeeper or a deputy housekeeper, followed by executive housekeeper. Whereas if you pick up, say, F&B, I'm not trying to defame any department, but I'm just trying to show the way to anyone who's trying to pick up any department. So say, example, you pick up F&B and you become a management trainee, you end up starting as an assistant restaurant manager or assistant banquet manager, whatever, and then you grow up to the position of a restaurant manager. Then you further are there in a, because F&B is a very, very complex scenario against comparing it with other departments. Then after you become a restaurant manager, you would still have to spend another 3 to 4 years to 5 years to become an assistant F&B manager, and then a F&B manager, and then EM F&B, and then a general manager. So it is a long way up. Versus in housekeeping, I felt, since there were very limited skilled managers. So when I thought, that I'll take this up and I'll brush up my technicals, it'll help me grow fast. So when I took housekeeping in I think during my Leela management trainee days, we were only 7-8 of us. And those days, Leela was growing very, very fast. And we had 7-8 properties. And we were 2 people per property which were deputed. And I was very lucky that I got an opportunity to do pre-opening with Leela Gurgaon, and then was sent back to Leela Mumbai to learn to learn daily operations. And in between, only what happened was that you have a lot of demand for housekeeping managers, because like I told you that skilled manpower is very limited in this particular department. So a lot of our senior management trainees got jobs and they left the company. And what happened suddenly was that we were put on the shop floors immediately after our classroom sessions, and a lot of learning happened during that particular time of being on the shop floor. And it so happened that while we were in shop floor for another like 3-4 months time, we started handling supervisory roles and shift manager roles. And then growth was much more easier. And then I think when I was moving out of Leela after completion of my management trainee program, and I was a executive, I was already handling complete night shifts of a 396 room property all alone, with almost 4 supervisors reporting into me and a team of roughly 45 people. That exposure, I feel, is little tough with other departments. And in fact, that time Lemon Tree was coming up, and I got a call from them, and the first break that I got with Lemon Tree was directly at the corporate office. And those days, Lemon Tree used to be a smaller chain comparatively. They only used to have 9 hotels, and they picked up heavy funding that particular year only, and they were trying to push their way forward. And I happened to join directly under Miss Serena Kocher, who's the corporate housekeeper there, and I was assisting her. So a lot of learning happened while I joined Lemon Tree. And during that particular time, I was doing only pre-openings and projects. And for every student who's planning to take up housekeeping, you have to understand that pre-opening of housekeeping teaches you complete hotel operations, because you are coordinating with so many other departments to get the hotel up. So for instance, I'll give you a small example. For the entire hotel, you are the one who will be ordering uniforms. For the entire hotel, you will be ordering napkins. For the entire hotel, you will be ordering various amenities. So the coordination is so much that you learn a lot about other departments as well. And then it so happened, while I was moving out of Lemon Tree, I got through as a deputy housekeeper with the Taj Holiday Village. And I feel from there, the way I thought, it was very easy to comparatively execute the plan. So when I joined as an executive housekeeper in Maldives, I think I was only 5 or 5.5 years into the industry. And from there, I did housekeeper. As a housekeeper, I worked for 1.5 years. And since I was to get married and I wanted to come back to India, and the first break that I got was to be basically an advisor to a managing director of a 5-star hotel in Varanasi. And I picked it up thinking, let me try this. And when I did the opening of that particular hotel, which will now be a Wyndham property, so I learned a lot during that particular time. And from there, I started moving into mid-market hotels, because that time mid-market segment was picking up quite well. And we had a lot of entrants coming into this particular segment. And the basic advantage that I got was that I have already worked at Lemon Tree, which initially started as a mid-market chain and later became an upscale segment chain. So I thought, that picking up something in mid-market would be better, because the whole industry was growing in that. So I picked up mid-market, and I went and joined Spree Hotels, which was basically a sister concern of Royal Orchid Hotels Limited. And there, I joined as a development guy with them. And I was also taking care of North operations for them. They actually wanted a housekeeper to handle their club's business in North, and they had very smaller inventories in North. So of typically a 50-room hotel type. And once you have done housekeeping, you can understand how to control the cost in rooms division. And what happens in mid-market is that your 65% revenues would come through rooms division. Unlike a luxury hotel chain where you still have a ratio of 60-40 or 70-30, or probably sometimes 50-50 as well. But these days it's tough to achieve a ratio of 50% of F&B revenue as well, because per square feet of revenue is taking a hit in F&B. Majorly because of all these standalone restaurants doing really well. But back those days, any hotel chain which would be in luxury would roughly do a 40-45% from F&B and another 50-55% from rooms division. So I think when I joined Spree, I was able to grab this quickly, because I came from a pure rooms division background. And all their hotels were predominantly focused on rooms division. And then within a year, I was lucky to get promoted as a corporate general manager, and I was handling almost 600 rooms of 12 hotels in almost 14 cities, yeah. And was handling clubs for them. And we were also having 500 rooms of Wipro guest house reporting into me. So I think that is the time where I learned a lot about how these management contracts are done, and how do we handle the cost part of it. So I would say, it completely depends upon one's focus as what someone likes, but you have to also plan what is the way up. So do not typically look what you want to do in next 1 or 2 years, but also plan for what you want to be after next 5-6 years. because if you plan that, then it is easy to execute that plan.
Okay, Anuj, while we are at it, would you also talk about this new concept about how facilities management as a field of work is now amalgamated itself so well, so beautifully with maintenance and housekeeping departments of operations in the hotels?
So facilities is coming up in a big way, and the advantage for any housekeeper is that if you tomorrow want to move out of the industry and want to join a corporate sector, you can get into facilities. So in fact, I can give you a smaller example at my home only, that my wife was a general manager with Lemon Tree for a very long time, and she worked with Lemon Tree hotels for almost 10 years, and now she is into facilities, and she works with Jindal Nature Cure. So it is very very easy to make a move, and facility is nothing but handling, basically having a little bit of knowledge about engineering, having a little bit knowledge about administration, having a little bit knowledge about housekeeping. And while you take housekeeping during your initial days, your housekeeping department would teach you all of this to be a good facility manager. And I think during our Napier days also, if I remember correctly, we had a facility management as one of our courses. And
yeah, you had one whole full credit module on facilities management, and
Yeah.
I remember at that time you all said that it was the most difficult module to do.
Yeah, and you used to take that module.
Yeah, I know. I used to deliver it to you.
So those days, back in 2008, facility was still coming up, but now it's a huge field, and anyone who's taking it up seriously can grow further in it. So in fact, I'll give you a small example. One of my bosses at Leela, who used to be deputy housekeeper when I joined the industry, today heads one of a leading news channels as general manager facilities. One of my other bosses is city head of Palava city in Lodha, which is quite a big city, and they all had housekeeping backgrounds. And this whole thought process of a housekeeper being in the back end is now only a myth. Typically depends upon what is your plan and how do you execute it. So unlike olden days, these days housekeeping teaches you a lot because the hotel industry has become very very room centric now, what it was. And in fact, with the rise of mid market hotel chains and budget and economy doing well, everything is focused more towards rooms division. And for a housekeeper to grow easy, it is much more easier for a housekeeper to grow. And facilities is one of the very very a good career option if someone wants to build their career in.
All right. And could you also throw some light upon the difference in the work culture that you saw in working in Indian properties and while you were abroad in Maldives?
Oh, so it's completely different.
Yeah. So because many of our students have these starry notions about I want to be. पहला क्वेश्चन पूछते एडमिशंस के टाइम भी, सर बाहर जाने को मिलेगा कि नहीं, सर बाहर जाने को मिलेगा कि नहीं. So that's something that we would like to hear from you.
Okay, so see, initially, when you start in the industry, be it any level, you might start as a management trainee, or you might start as a HOMT, or you might start at entry level. See, it is important to work hard during your first initial 2 to 3 years, or probably 5 years, and that time the industry would demand longer working hours, and it still does. Be it any position that you reach. So that is somehow the trend with hotel industry, that you will have to put in long working hours, because you have to understand the asset that you will be managing is fairly a large asset. And if you really look at it, the kind of manpower that we work is very very slack, be it in India or abroad. So nothing changes in terms of number of people at the hotel. However, there is a huge culture difference between how you work in India versus how you work abroad. Since abroad you are as a manager, you are handling different ethnicity, and you're managing a lot of different people from very, very different backgrounds. So, your work culture has to be planned in accordingly that, it should benefit everyone. While in India, since you are majorly handling one particular country, so the work culture is defined that ways. So, yeah, in terms of work culture, abroad, it is little flexible. However, it is since we were at Singapore Air Terminal Services, so everything was more focused on our business scorecards, which in India back those days, business scorecards were not very, very popular. So, for instance, when I went and joined SATS, I realized, there used to be a program known as 360 degrees, that peers would give feedbacks for their managers, and your everyone would keep giving feedbacks about each other, which formed a very, very important criteria for business scorecard, which in India back those days was never even heard of. So yeah, I mean, in terms of HR practices, they are little advanced, but now Indian industry is catching up very, very fast. So with great places to work and all these awards coming in, a lot of companies are focused majorly on how employee retention is focused on, or how the training programs are made in the industry. So I think now in terms of HR, Indian companies are also fast catching up. I think in terms of learning and development, we were far ahead than any of the foreign companies that you'll work, because we always had more hand-on practice, and these guys were more technical, and majorly managers would come from Europe, and everyone would have a very different style of working. So in terms of the whole learning and develop concept, I feel that India was much ahead at that point of time as well, because our modules were more practical, and whatever we did at Maldives, I felt that were more theoretical, and down the line staff found it difficult to catch up. Overall, I think Indian industry has actually picked up well now, and we are almost in similar lines with how it is abroad as well. Now, only thing is, I think the difference is India still has a little longer working hours compared to how abroad the industry works. You're sharp at inside your office at 9 and you're out by 6, which would never happen in Indian industry. But of course, everything has its own pros and cons. How you can learn it here when you spend more working hours working, versus how you can learn abroad is very, very different. So I will still say, to learn initially towards your foundation period, you should spend more time in India, and then only as at least till the time you have not reached the middle level management, you should not plan to go abroad, because how detailed we are in India, they are not that detailed.
Yeah, so you feel it's always advised. That's what we tell our students. It's always advisable to have a foundation of your career in Indian hospitality industry before you take the jump to go
Correct, sir.
outside, right?
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
Plus, the way Indian industry operates, we are very, very detailed, and where we are very focused to attention to details. However, abroad, you have to. They only look at from the perspective of doing a particular job, but how we look at it is to
Very in
delivering.
depth. I think we do it in very in depth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if you're starting your career in India and you spend 4-5 initial years here, so that particular culture gets imbibed into you, and when you're abroad also, then it is not easy to let go of. But if you start, I might be wrong in saying this, but if you start abroad, you will get used to that particular culture, and then adapting to Indian market would be very, very difficult.
True. That's a good insight, really. Yeah.
Anuj, my question to you is that from housekeeping you moved to Tribo, right? I would like you to explain your job function of Tribo and how that sector of managing leads for hotels, how does it work, and if you could throw a little light for our students to understand that kind of sector.
Sure. So, so how any startup works is very, very different versus how the organized sector work. So, typically, let's say probably in case of any organized hotel chain, we would say plan to open 2 to 3 hotels a year. But in terms of a startup, scale is the most important thing, because based on the scale, they plan to pick up funding, and it is about making a business pretty big. So you can easily see a perfect example of Oyo, or probably a Tribo or a Fab Hotel. Uh, when I joined Tribo, I joined them after a tenure of 3 years at Spree. So I was heading the lease vertical for them. So lease vertical, where we were basically trying to lease properties. So I think the students would be knowing it. So there are different verticals in the market. One is a owned model, where you own a hotel and you run it yourself. The other model is that you own and give it to a management company to run it. So typically all your Marriotts or a lot of your Hyatts, etc., are managed contracts, wherein they will charge a certain percentage of top line and a certain percentage of GOP for you to run their hotels. Then you have another model, which is a revenue share model, that you sign a property and you give some percentage of your revenues directly to the owner, which can also be termed as a soft lease. And the lease model is where you set yourself up and you say, okay, I'll take the complete business risk and I will be paying you a certain fixed rentals. So at Tribo, we felt there is a huge market demand, and supply and in budget and economy was good supply. I mean, quality supply was difficult to get. So why don't we lease out the properties and convert it as per our requirement and then sell it? So we were very aggressive. We picked up almost 18 hotels in a year, and we had almost 600 operational rooms in these 18 hotels, and biggest being 71 room hotel at Bangalore. So we picked up hotels at key cities, and then the thought process was, once we are able to do this, then we will get into the management contracts. So I think lease is a very, very interesting way of doing the business, but the major risk lies upon you in that case. And for leasing a property, of course, capital requirement is intensive, and if the company doesn't have that sort of a backing, then it is difficult to lease. So at Essentia also, we are working on lease models only, ma'am. And so majority of the properties that we are coming up with are all leased properties, or are on basically soft lease, where there is a element of minimum guarantee to the owner. So it's actually an interesting model. But now with the pandemic, I think at least next 2 to 3 years we will not see many entrants into the lease model. At Lemon Tree also, how they started was typically building their own hotels, then they started leasing their properties, and then they got into a management contract. So typically, once you have a lot of lease and your own properties and you are asset heavy, the advantage is that you control the brand standards, and then getting into a management agreement is much easier versus directly floating a management company and trying to pick up something till the time you don't have right assets to and the right brand standards to show it off.
Right, Anuj. I think that was very good. Uh, that would actually open up a new dimension of thoughts for the students. Uh, my question to you, Anuj, is like when you shifted from housekeeping and then you took up the role of a corporate general manager, there must have been a tremendous shift in learning.
Yes, ma'am.
There has been, I think you needed to develop a lot of additional skills and knowledge as you went up. So, could you share what would be the learning curve like, and what are the students required to do if somebody is planning, like, to shift from any department from after 5 years in that department to the role of a general manager?
Ma'am, I would say, I was lucky also that I got a break as a development guy. And like I told you, that time the mid-market segment was coming up. And since I was doing a lot of development for my company, so I was understanding the whole management contract game really well that particular time. And based on that, it was comparatively easier to shift into a general manager's shoe. And given that, I was before that only I was doing a property of 72 rooms, which is a 5-star hotel in Varanasi, completely by myself. So those 2 to 3 years were laid the whole foundation. Yeah, it is difficult to shift initially from a housekeeper, because as a housekeeper, your knowledge is very, very department centric. But once you are a general manager, you should be jack of all trades in a hotel. So you should have knowledge of almost, how the operations of each departments are taken care. So initially, ma'am, when I moved from housekeeping and I was trying to do up a hotel of 72 rooms in Varanasi, it was initially very, very tough. But I would say I had a lot of good mentors in the industry who guided me, and based on their help, a lot of learning happened, and I was able to reopen that hotel really well. And after that, when I shifted to Spree and I started doing development, I learned a lot about how a brand is to be sold to an owner, and how do you get him how do you tell him that you should now convert your existing hotel into any XYZ brand, and how you have to further coordinate to ensure that all the brand standards are further set up in terms of how the brand is asking the complete standards to be. Then I think once I became a corporate general manager, I think it was very, very important that the P&L part of the business is understood really well, because till the time you're not aware about the ratios of how can you control each and everything, it is very, very difficult to deliver on this role. So I think once you are in the industry and you have completed 4 5 years, you would typically be in today's market scenario, you would typically be in a middle level position. And it is important that from that particular time you keep learning the financial part of the business. So for instance, if you are into rooms division, you should understand by that time that what is your per room cost like. Or if you are in your F&B, then you should know your APCs really well. You should know how you are making your budgets and all that. And at every point of time, at every particular position that you reach, keep learning your financials very well, because that will set it up for you. Initially, if you're only focused on the service part of it, and if you don't know your financials, then growing and taking another role would be very, very difficult, because every role after your mid-level management would ask you to understand your budgets and your cost. So yeah, so I think, ma'am, it was never easy, but I think I was lucky to have good mentors, and then I learned this with due frame of time. How to go about it.
And my whole point in asking this question was because ultimately everything will come down to the bottom line. Okay, any owner or a leaseholder, anybody would ultimately, from all aspects, would look at the bottom line. So there is no shying away from the finance. So
Correct,
that
ma'am.
will
And
still hold the key to everything in whichever operations you are in, whichever segment of business you are in. So this is my message to all the students who are listening now, that better look into your accounts, management accounting, and finances very, very closely. And do not shy away, because that will give you a fundamental understanding of how the hotel or any business operates, any business rather.
And in
Uh,
fact, now with the industry, majorly focused on the uh, on the GOP factor, the return on ego thing is no longer the play for any owner. It is, what you get onto the table as profit is very, very important for any owner, be it a luxury hotel chain owner, or be it a budget and economy owner. So they basically want the complete juice out of their per square feet area that they have invested. And plus, one, for every every rupee invested, uh, it is a very, very capital intensive business. So till the time you're not able to give the required gross operational profitability or net operational profitability, it is very, very difficult for the owners to you know uh, uh, survive, because the kind of asset that we build and the kind of bank loans that maximum of them would have, and the kind of stress that they'll have, it is very difficult else to achieve anything. So it is important to understand the finance right from the middle level management. Then only you can take up a bigger responsibility.
okay, on
Thank you,
similar
Anuj.
lines,
Yeah,
on similar
sure, go
lines,
ahead.
Anuj, how do you feel the modules that you all studied during the UK delivery program in final year, the UK graduation program, like facilities management, restaurant management, hospitality industry project, hospitality
Yeah.
product development, food, wine, and society? I mean, did they really help you in creating a foundation where you, as which came in good stead in the long run for your management skills and stuff?
Yeah, so I personally feel, uh, the way we were different as a college, and I am not saying because ma'am is here, but I genuinely felt it because after doing my hotel management, and while I was doing my management trainee program, that while we were taught this Sudhir Andrews and all, we had a lot of people who came from the industry who were teaching us. So when it is important to know your chamois leather, but you also have to understand that once you are in the industry, no one will be using the chamois leather. So, uh, like, we were very lucky that we had a lot of faculty members who came from the industry and who were teaching us all this. In fact, the modules at Napier were very, very good. So, like we were discussing about facility management, and back those days, we never understood, why it is important to have a module. But, now after 12 years, you know, uh, I don't think that any college was teaching facility management to any of their students 12 years back. And I think now, same way, I think moving ahead, it is very important for anyone to understand that how industry was, it'll not be the same 10 years down the line. So it is important to get upgraded. So I think same way, how our wine sessions were done, and we had a uh, external faculty who used to come in and tell us about all the wine regions, etc., was very, very, very important. And though I took up housekeeping, but I can still name at least 20 red wines and 20 white wines and 20 varieties of grapes. So it is equally important to understand the basic well. Uh, Same, sir. I think coming back to your point of how good were the modules, they were very, very good. And most important was they were ahead of their time, which I think was the key thing, that uh, we were lucky to have got that thing that particular time. I think today, many colleges can teach the same, but 12 years back, a lot of these things were not even heard of in the market. So to think about it that particular time was, I think, great on part of ma'am and Mr. Bose, and to get this particular module to India was very, very good. And I think also importantly, how our assignments were done, and we had this
Yeah.
whole plagiarism episode, and that was that was very, very important, because now, when you do reports, and typically now you do much bigger reports for your owners, and because you were taught almost 12 years back of how to do a report and how to format it nicely, you can put that knowledge in, in whole thing today. But back to, if you're not taught during it, the same thing during the college, then you would probably have to learn it during your operations, which is very, very tough. You would learn operations, or you would learn how to make a report, or you would what you will basically, it's a shorter time that you are in during your work, that you can learn everything. So I would say I was lucky that a lot of right things were taught during the college days.
Yeah, why I actually brought this up is because that's what when you said about assignments and how initially you all felt that how tough it was. Why are we saddled with all this? जो लोग PTU कर रहे हैं, BU कर रहे हैं, उन लोग को तो नहीं पढ़ना पड़ रहा ये सब. I mean, that was the kind of always the bone of contention between students and teachers. So nowadays what happens is our students kind of shy away from the UK study program, thinking that's too difficult to do, too much of coursework, बहुत reports बनाने पड़ेंगे ये सब. So that's what we tell them. That's why I wanted you to say, like, how beneficial it is in the long run for them, and it creates such a wonderful foundation going ahead. So that's
sir,
what was the importance of the UK study program, I feel.
And sir, to add to your point, if say anyone plans to further study more, and wants to do a master's, then you would have to put in that much of time to
Absolutely.
your reports, or else if you're not doing these courses, and I really don't know if we have PTU now with us or not, but typically the major difference between PTU course and our course was that our course was much modern, versus I just gave an example of a chamois leather being taught.
Exactly, yeah.
That was great, Anuj. And now I think we should open the forum for the students to ask questions. Students, if you have any questions, you are most welcome to ask. Please unmute yourself and ask.
Any questions at all for Mr. Chaudhuri, any of you? Anything about college, about his career, about his growth, about his viewpoints on the industry, current placement situations, anything at all? Any student, any questions? Or you all are happy with in your comfort zone and don't want to ask any question? Please understand that there's no such question as a stupid question. Every question has a meaning. So even if any of you have any kind of doubts, any kind of questions in mind about anything at all that Mr. Chaudhuri spoke to us about today, please feel free to ask.
Good evening, sir. My name is Tushar Mukhopadhyay and I'm from second year, sir. So my question to you is, as you were talking about members saying about Everina Private Limited, sir. So can you, I know that about Everina that they want to focus and keep their focus on growing the community. So the mid-segment market that you are currently part of, sir, how do you plan to go ahead and involve the community in it, sir?
Hi, Tushar. So yeah, I'll first answer your question into two different parts. So Everina is into multiple things. They are into different segments of hotels. So we have a luxury hotel, which is Holiday Inn in Goa, and then we are into restaurant business, and then thirdly we are into mid-market chains, mid-market hotels. I hope that all of you understand what is a mid-market hotel and a budget and economy hotel, or upscale hotel.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So typically, how do we focus in developing a community or environment? Wherever we are opening a hotel, there are in that particular area there are a lot of employment which is generally generated when you open a hotel. See, typically all these hotels are very heavy in terms of manpower, unlike any other industry, for a fact, for every dollar invested, hospitality industry employs more people than automobile industry. So, so say typically if you're opening a 70-room hotel also, the chances of you employing roughly 70 to 100 people from that particular community are on a higher side. And in fact, if you are more F&B centric, you might have 140 people on board. So first thing is that you generate instant employment at that particular area. Second thing is, see a lot of, it's a complete business environment and a circle which starts happening, because a lot of companies which becomes a supplier, and then a lot of them are generally small scale industries, and a lot of them would be your MSME sectors, etc. And they are your typical suppliers who would supply things like your groceries and your housekeeping chemicals, meat, fish, etc. And that is also you are helping the whole community to grow. These days, a lot of hotels are into CSR. For instance, Lemon Tree, they employ a lot of people with differently abled people at their hotels. So a lot of focus is being put in how do we develop the economy, and government has given strict guidelines to any corporate companies that you have to put in some money towards CSR, and everyone's trying to have that percentage fulfilled anyhow every year, because based on that only you get your income tax exemptions, etc. So it is important when you're opening a hotel, and see, not every hotel you'll open in a metro city, because the way your cat B and cat C cities are growing, and you have limited competitions in such cities also. So for instance, say let us compare a Jaipur market to say a Bareilly market. Okay, Jaipur, it's a very heavy supplied market. So your ARRs are very, very tough to achieve. Whereas let's assume a market like Bareilly, where there is limited supply, and because of that limited supply, you can still achieve your ARRs. So when you're focusing on signing up of a hotel or taking a hotel on lease, you look at various factors, and you don't only end up signing up in Cat A cities. You also focus Cat B and Cat C cities because of the kind of business that you can do in such cities. However, Cat A cities are done majorly because you feel that it will give your brand a boost, that you are present in that particular city. However, a better level of profitability can be achieved in Cat B and Cat C, because a lot of things are under control. For instance, your manpower, you know, uh, for instance, your payroll cost, the kind of payrolls at Cat B and Cat C versus a payroll in Cat A is very, very different.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think
you.
I have answered your question.
Yes, sir, you have, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions, students?
Anyone? Anything else?
I guess they are all very satisfied, and
Yeah, that was a very interesting talk. Yeah.
yeah, and very, very enlightening. Anuj, thank you very much, because definitely the students who are thinking of housekeeping as an option, not only that, normally we always think, 5 stars are the only business. There's a huge, huge business in the segment that you are currently working, and the growth is much faster. So yes, you
Agreed.
start maybe with a 5 star, and then your movement into the mid-market segment, I think, was one of the very well thought out movement, because that will give you a very quick rise to the opportunities. And then yes, definitely once you get a hang of managing the mid market, there's always a scope of joining the bigger chains. So I think students should also
Agreed,
think
ma'am.
about different ways of managing their career. I think that has been a very, very smart move, I think, Anuj. And I hope your hotel does well and everything becomes fine when the lockdown is over and we are back to normal business. And thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, ma'am, for inviting me. And it was nice, to answer to queries of few students and to speak to you and Kushal sir after such a long time. And it was nice, it was reliving the past. And someone who made that slideshow of putting a lot of pics, I think they did a
That was
few
the IT
Facebook.
department, I
That's
think.
our IT team, yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
was really nice.
thank you, Anuj. It was wonderful
Thank you.
interacting with you. And like Madam said, mid market segment is the one that is really catching up now. So you made the right move at the right time. Even after the COVID thing
The
goes off,
corporate business is shifting towards mid market.
yeah,
If
especially
you are
now,
sending
post COVID, it won't be luxury anymore that will be looked upon in high this thing, but it will be the focus will be on mid market segment really.
Correct,
That is
sir.
where all the growth is going to be now.
Yes, and plus, if you really compare occupancies, the kind of occupancy that we can see in mid market are sometimes a dream for luxury hotels to achieve.
absolutely.
So, however, in fact, the profitability might be a very different question. But however, in terms of what we do at mid market, in terms of what quality we give, is almost equivalent to a good upscale or a luxury hotels. But everything is trimmed to that particular cost.
Yeah, sure, but it's
And
good
I
value
think the
for money.
volume,
Yeah.
also you do a better volume. I think the volume
Yes,
also
yes.
definitely adds to the revenue.
Correct, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anu. Thank you very much for your time, and keep doing well. And we hope to have you again sometime soon.
Yeah, all
Sure,
the
ma'am.
best,
Thank
and
you
do
so
drop
much.
in sometime if you are in Calcutta or this part of the world.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
You
Bye,
take care.
thanks.
You too, ma'am. You too, sir. Stay
Bye-bye.
safe.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, students. You all may leave the meeting now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.